Has it ever happened to you that sometimes you lean the bike so much you don't know if you're going to take the corner or propose marriage to the asphalt? And we know the scare is real. So that doesn't happen to you again, today on Moto Sin Filtros, we will reveal the 5 critical errors that sabotage your line and how to correct them forever. Stick around until the last point on the list, because it's the psychological flaw that causes most accidents in tight corners. Let's start. Error number 5. Looking at the wrong place instead of where we want to go. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me when I started riding. I was on a back road, and in the middle of a corner there was a rock. A normal rock. Fist-sized, nothing special. But I couldn't stop looking at it. It was like my eyes were glued to that rock. And of course, where do you think I went? Straight towards the rock. Luckily, nothing happened because I swerved at the last moment. But that day I understood what target fixation means. Your brain has a natural tendency to take the bike towards where your eyes are looking. And if you keep staring at the edge of the road, an oil stain, or the guardrail, your bike will go straight there. It's like there's an invisible cable between your gaze and the direction. The solution is simple in theory, but requires practice. You have to force yourself to look where you want to go, not at what you want to avoid. When you approach a corner, don't look at the asphalt right in front of you or the obstacle that worries you. Look as far as possible. Look at the exit of the corner, that point where the turn ends and the road straightens out again. There's a very useful exercise that consists of saying out loud as you approach the corner, "I'm looking at the exit. I'm looking at the exit." It seems silly, but it helps reprogram your brain to stop focusing on the danger and start focusing on the path. And the best part is that when you start doing it right, you'll notice how the bike itself follows your gaze and enters the corner with a smoothness you didn't think possible. Error number 4. Braking when you're already leaned over in the corner. This is probably the error that causes the most accidents and the one that generates the most fear when you're learning. You arrive at a corner, misjudge the speed, or simply see it's tighter than you thought, and your instinct tells you to touch the brake. The problem is that if you're already leaned over and you squeeze the lever, the bike reacts in a very ugly way. What happens is that when you brake with the bike leaned over, all the physics turns against you, and the bike wants to straighten up on its own, as if someone were pushing it towards the outside of the corner. And when the bike straightens up, you go straight, which is exactly the opposite of what you need. And the golden rule is simple and non-negotiable. All braking must be done before entering the corner, with the bike completely upright. It's like you're an airplane. You have to have everything ready before starting the maneuver. But of course, what happens if you're already in the corner and you realize you're going too fast? Well, you have 2 options. Either lean the bike more if you have space and confidence, or accept that you're going to go a bit wider than you wanted, but maintain steady throttle and the bike stable. What you should never, ever do is slam on the brakes in the middle of the corner. A trick that works is to think of the throttle as a stability switch. When the throttle is steady, the bike is stable. When you chop it or snap it open, the bike destabilizes. So before entering the corner, do your homework. Adjust your speed, choose the right gear, and then just enjoy the turn without touching the brakes until the bike is upright again. Error number 3. Gripping the handlebars too tightly, as if it were going to escape. I've made this error, and almost everyone makes it at the beginning. And the worst part is that many riders with years of experience still do it without realizing it. You get on the bike and grab the handlebars with all your might, as if you're afraid it's going to come loose and fly away. Arms rigid, shoulders tense, hands white from squeezing. The result is that you finish the ride with destroyed forearms and the bike has behaved strangely the whole time. What happens when you grip the handlebars too tightly is that you transmit all your tension and all your involuntary movements to the bike's steering. Any small vibration, any irregularity in the asphalt, any movement of your body becomes a sudden correction that destabilizes the bike. Motorcycles are designed to be stable on their own. They have a geometry that makes them tend to go straight and stay firm. But if you're constantly wrestling with the handlebars, you interfere with that natural stability. The solution is to relax. And I know saying relax when you're going 50 miles an hour in a corner is easy to say, but not so easy to do. Think of your arms as if they were springs. They need to be bent, loose, ready to absorb irregularities, but without fighting the bike. Your hands should grip the handlebars with the same force you would use to hold a little bird, firm enough so it doesn't escape, but gentle enough not to hurt it. And to achieve this, you have to use the rest of your body, your legs gripping the tank, your abs holding your torso, so your arms can focus only on steering. An exercise that helps a lot is, when you're on an empty and safe straight, let go of the handlebars for a couple of seconds. You'll see how the bike goes perfectly straight without your intervention, and that will give you the confidence to relax your arms when the corners come. These first 3 errors are the most common, the ones almost all of us have made at some point, and the ones that generate that feeling of insecurity in every corner. They are instinct errors, doing what the body asks instead of what the technique requires. But the next 2 are more subtle, harder to detect on your own, and they are what separate those who enjoy corners from those who suffer through them. Error number 2, not using your body to help the bike in corners. Recently, I saw a photo of a ride we did with some friends, and in the photo, I appeared in the middle of a corner with my body completely straight, sitting in the center of the seat as if I were on an endless straight. I looked like a mannequin, and next to me, another friend in the same corner appeared slightly leaned, with his body following the movement of the bike. The difference was abysmal. While my bike had to lean a huge amount to take the corner, his took it much more upright and with much more stability. What many don't understand is that the bike and body are a team, and if you don't help, the bike has to do all the work alone. When you enter a corner, you shouldn't stay glued to the seat like a statue. You need to slide your butt slightly towards the inside of the corner, just a few centimeters. You don't need to come off the seat. Then you need to lower the shoulder on the inside, as if you wanted to touch the ground with it. And finally, your head also leans in. Your whole body has to follow the movement, not just from the waist up. It's like when you're on a bicycle, and you lean naturally in corners without thinking. On a bike, it's the same, but with a bit more awareness. A very common mistake is leaning only from the waist up, leaving your hips centered. That does nothing and also destabilizes you. The movement has to start from the hips, which are what really connect your body to the bike. A trick that works is to practice this movement at home, standing in front of a mirror. Simulate a right-hand corner and shift your hips. Lower your shoulder, tilt your head until the gesture becomes natural. Then, when you go out on the road, you won't have to think about it. Your body will just do it. Error number 1, abruptly closing the throttle in the middle of the corner. And we arrive at the most treacherous error of all, the one that seems the most logical reaction, but turns out to be the most dangerous. You're going through a corner, suddenly you see it's tighter than you expected, or you've entered faster than you thought, and your instinct tells you to close the throttle. It sounds reasonable. If I'm going too fast, the logical thing is to lift off, right? Well, no. In a corner, abruptly closing the throttle is one of the worst things you can do. When you snap the throttle shut, all the bike's weight shifts to the front wheel. The fork compresses, the rear lightens, and the bike loses stability. It's like braking with the rear brake without touching it. Additionally, closing the throttle makes the bike tend to straighten up, and the exact opposite of what you need to take the corner. The result is that the bike runs wide, goes towards the outside, and you panic. The correct technique is to maintain a steady throttle throughout the corner, neither accelerating nor braking, just maintaining. Steady throttle provides stability, makes the bike settle into its line, and allows you to pass through the turn smoothly. And then, when you start to see the exit of the corner, when the bike starts to straighten on its own, that's the moment to start rolling on the throttle progressively. A mental trick that helps a lot is to imagine there's a raw egg between your right hand and the throttle grip. If you open or close it abruptly, the egg breaks, so you have to make all throttle movements with extreme smoothness. Another way to understand it is to think of the throttle as the volume of music at a party. You don't turn it up or down in jerks because it looks bad. You adjust it smoothly so everything flows. Well, in a corner it's the same. The throttle has to flow, it has to be steady, and only change when the bike is already exiting the turn. If you practice this once and internalize it, you'll notice how the corners that used to scare you become the ones you enjoy the most. So next time you go for a ride, pick one of these errors and pay attention to it. You'll see how little by little corners Stop being a source of tension and start being the best part of the road. Now tell me in the comments which of these 5 errors you think cost you the most. And if this video helped you, share it with that rider friend you know needs it. See you in the next one.